Hey everybody, welcome back into another episode of WSAZ Sports Plus. We've got all three states when it comes to high school football this week. It was fun in Ohio and Kentucky last Friday. West Virginia, we certainly missed you. And we certainly missed WSAZ Sports Director Keith Morehouse, who is joining me now in the WSAZ Now studio. Keith, like I said, we missed you last week, but we were able to handle it without you. That doesn't mean you're not important. We'll get you back on for some football stuff.
I better get back on here before you guys take my chair.
No kidding, right?
Yeah.
Well, we had Jimmy sitting over there the last time. Like I said, I couldn't believe people listened to Jimmy and I for that long, but they did. So, well, some did,
you think
not
they
everyone.
Did. You hope they did.
We're
right?
telling people that.
Yeah.
But you were in Pittsburgh for something pretty special, and I want to get to this before we talk football because Al Oliver, Portsmouth legend, Pittsburgh Pirate legend, inducted into the Pirates Hall of Fame. What was that experience like up there?
Man, it was everything I thought it would be, Joseph. First of all, you've got PNC Park, one of the great ballparks in Major League Baseball. And then to be able to go up there and see Al Oliver's career kind of come full circle. You know, he's obviously played 18 years in Major League Baseball, but 10 of them were with Pittsburgh, won a World Series in 1971. So this is the fourth class that they've inducted. And Al was up there with Kai Kyler and Vern Law, his family, as those three got inducted into the Pirates Hall of Fame. So well-deserved for Al, one of the great hitters in Pittsburgh Pirate history, 2,743 career hits. I really feel like if he'd have played a couple of more seasons and gotten to 3,000, we'd be talking about him being at Cooperstown. You know, that's kind of the magic number. But the Pittsburgh Pirates Hall of Fame is pretty esteemed honor as well, and it was just great to see him, great to be with him and his family as he gets inducted. And he said that's where it all started. He kind of likens Pittsburgh to Portsmouth, you know, a hard-working, steel town kind of, you know, mentality. And he goes, it reminds me of Portsmouth, bigger obviously, but that's where he started with three-time All-Star there. And we got to visit with him, Tim Ear and I did, for the good part of the afternoon before he went to the ceremony at PNC Park. And he just regaled us with great stories of his time at Pittsburgh, where he got his nickname Scoop. You couldn't throw the ball past him at first base. He'd dig it out. Just a line drive hitter, a guy who has so many stories to tell that you could seriously talk with him for the better part of a day and not hear all the stories. He was really happy to be there, got a great reception. And told the people in Pittsburgh that they are the city of champions, and he really just kind of reveled in the attention, as he should have. He's 78 years old now, and I don't know, something sentimental in me hits when I see a guy like that who's from our area get the acclaim he deserves. And you know, Portsmouth has such a great sports history anyway. You know, Branch Rickey's from there, the guy who signed Jackie Robinson and Al, and Larry Heisel, who was a great baseball player in Major League Baseball as well. So really good to see him, and I reminded him of a story, Joseph. I don't know if I've ever told you this. Way back in the, I guess it would have been around 2000, we did a series of stories, the best golf holes of the tri-state, and I did 5 holes, and I picked out a different person in the area to go play. We went to Kentucky, Moorhead, and had Kyle Macy play a hole with us, and of course Kyle was a great Kentucky player. Well, we go to Portsmouth Shawnee, which is no longer a golf course, but it used to have a great hole, number 4. It would go down to the river, and we brought our jib camera down there, and I thought, well, Portsmouth, let's call Al Oliver. So Al joins us for a hole, and he goes, I'm not a golfer. So he didn't even want to hit a drive, but I brought my son's Little League bat. I said, Al, let's see you hit a baseball. Let's see you hit a golf ball with a baseball bat. Man, he hit that thing. We never found it, never even saw it. It was just gone. I don't know where it ended up, but he ended up playing that hole with us and hit a couple of putts, but I reminded him of that story. But he's this guy that every time Tim and I get together around Christmas, we call him up and wish him Merry Christmas. And he's just a great guy, engaging guy, and what an honor for him to be in Pittsburgh for that, and an honor for us to cover it.
Yeah, you mentioned how you and Tim have known him for years, and he's not only a local legend, but a legend there in Pittsburgh. That is a very new Hall of Fame, but, man, you probably could have put him in a couple classes ago if you wanted to.
Well, you know, I think of those teams in the 70s with Pittsburgh. Of course, he wasn't on the 79 team, that we are a family team, but, you know, he did win the World Series. You know, he told Tim the story, and you might have seen it, of when they played, and they were the first team ever in the history of Major League Baseball to have 9 African-American players on the field at the same time. And he pointed that out. But, you know, Willie Stargell and Manny Sanguillen and all those guys that were just Roberto Clemente, of course, was an incredible legacy player. Just to see what he did there in 10 seasons. Ended up playing with a lot of other clubs. But another story about that, Joseph, that people maybe don't know is he was part of a collusion suit against Major League Baseball in 1986 because he didn't play that year. There was some kind of snafu about rosters or what have you. Anyway, he won a $600,000 judgment, but didn't play in '86. But he later said he thought if he DH'd for 2 or 3 years, would have gotten those 257 hits or whatever he needed, and would have been at 3,000. So that if there is a regret for Al's career, that may be it. But in terms of guys that hit the ball and as many hits and RBI as he had, he could absolutely be considered for Cooperstown. But that's such a heavy lift nowadays. I'm not sure that'll happen. But the fact that he's in Pittsburgh's Hall of Fame was really cool too.
I certainly wanted to make sure you got a chance to talk about that moment because
that's
that's legendary stuff. Those are things that they'll have framed pictures of Al Oliver from that induction ceremony at restaurants in Portsmouth till the end of time.
Yeah, they already have his bust is played out in center field. So if you're at PNC Park, go out in the center field, past the center field wall and check it out. It's really cool, for sure.
Well, did you get a chance to watch some of the highlights as far as football is concerned back here on the home front?
I did. As we were driving, I called up my YouTube TV and I watched you guys. It was impressive. I just thought the highlights were really good. And, boy, some of those results, you go like that. And you're seeing it. So, what? Really? That happened? So, we're going to run over them some right now. But there were some great games and great highlights.
Yeah. There were a couple of teams that made Jimmy and I eat our words. Not that we were making predictions on here last week, but some teams we raved about, other teams that we didn't know so much about, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, we were not familiar with their game, So you want to start with Raceland and Ashland?
Yeah, I mean, that's the one that kind of stuck out at me, just to go into Putnam Stadium. And, of course, we know what Raceland does every year. But that touchdown on the very first play, Landon Stiltner goes 71 yards, and they go up 14-0. And you're thinking, is this really happening at Putnam Stadium? And, Ashland, they don't lose very often at home for sure. And then they tie it up, and there was a game-winning field goal that I wasn't able to see it, but that's impressive. First game, high school, game-winning field goal at Ashland. That's big stuff there.
Yeah, that's ice cold. I was watching the live stream. I can't remember who it was, but was watching really the last 7-8 minutes or so, and it looks like Ashland's about to go in and possibly take the lead, and then you don't know what happens after that. But Raceland's able to get off the field, and running back by committee, man, they've got 3 big dogs, and Landon Stiltner, Shannon Marucci, and Jonah Arnett. They just inched their way down the field, and Coach Salmons left it up to the foot of Jacob Waller. You want to talk about ice cold. 36-yard field goal, first game of the year in Putnam Stadium in the Ashland Tomcats' own yard. That's pretty impressive. You don't see a lot of special teams plays like that, especially to win a game in high school football. That's a heck of a win to start off the year for the Rams.
No question, Joseph. A lot of coaches maybe just opt to go for it on fourth down. That's a hard kick. And I watched one of the replays I saw on Twitter, and it was like a no-doubter. As soon as he kicked it, you could just see the crowd just kind of deflate on the Ashland side. And for Raceland's fans who made it, man, that was a celebration. That's a tremendous win and opening night for sure.
And you think if you're Coach Salmons, I mean, they were moving the ball up the field. If they wanted to and executed to perfection, they could have scored. But I think he was pretty confident in Waller's leg. And, again, you just don't see that kind of confidence in high school kickers. But it looks like Raceland, of course, Waller on the offensive side of the ball can make plays himself with the ball in his hand, but with his foot as well. Kudos to that young man because that was ice cold. That's the only way I know how to describe it.
Big time, yep, for sure.
Let's move on to, I guess let's go across the river. Beaver Eastern at South Point. Jimmy and I were raving about the Eastern Eagles. This is a team that hasn't lost a regular season game since 2022.
I checked that. I said, is that a misprint? 2022.
Correct me if I'm wrong. That's what I looked up.
I believe
Dame beat them in 2022, October 7th, and that's the last regular season game they've lost. So I know South Point fans wish they would have won that game, and that team wishes they would have won that game. But to hold Eastern to 13 points, an offense that scored 35 points a game last year, that's certainly a silver lining and a plus for the Pointers. And hey, for the Eagles, you go on the road against a much bigger school and bigger opponent, you'll take any win you can get at South Point.
Yeah, and if you're South Point, you take some solace in that. You don't really want to sit there and go, oh, let's celebrate a loss. But like you said, the quality opponent, game one, you know how game ones, you don't know who's going to show up, who's not, and how everybody's going to mesh. And, for them to hold them to 13 points is a good sign of what's ahead for the Pointers this year if they play like that every week. Yeah.
course, I wasn't at this game, but you mentioned week one and some of the things that you see. A lot of these teams are going to do things that are uncharacteristic, whether it's a lack of discipline. You might see some bad snaps here and there. Kids are excited to hit somebody wearing a different uniform, and they're getting personal foul penalties for, knocking dudes around after the play. That's just some of the things I noticed at the games that I were at. You could just tell kids were excited to be out there. So you don't really want to make too much of week one.
Right.
It all counts the same, but these teams are going to look a lot different here in a month.
No doubt about it. And, coaches always say it's a cliche, but you get your best growth from that game one and game two. And sometimes you do, but also it's a good indication of, like Raceland and Ashland, both those teams are going to be good. We know that. We're going to talk about Russell and Colegrove. Both these teams obviously look to be pretty good too. So you also take some positives from that first win for sure.
Certainly. You mentioned Russell and Colegrove. This was the result that, I'll be honest with you, and kudos to the Red Devils, made me eat my words. I did not see this coming. Russell's got some ball players. And, look, I'm not selling stock on the Colegrove Hornets. I think they're going to be just fine. But that was one that I kind of expected Colegrove to go in there and maybe win a close one. And Russell's defense, check that out. They held Colegrove to 164 total yards, and 61 of them came on one play. Coach Maynard's defense over there, legit.
Yeah, I mean that's a big time deal. Even Murphy had 113 yards, 10 yards of carry. Still, that's Murphy-like numbers. But I think we noted that maybe he had some cramping issues or whatever. But he's a big time back, and he can play just about anywhere in Ohio. And for them to kind of maybe not keep him in check, he obviously had that big hitter. But that's a win for Russell to hold him to at least normal mortal-like numbers, Yeah.
Mortal-like numbers, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Jaden Frazier, quarterback at Russell, you want to talk about 12 of 17, 167 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's pretty efficient from your starting quarterback week one. Again, we talk about sometimes kids get antsy, they're trying to make plays and do too much. That's a guy that was pretty efficient out there, and it led them to victory in week one. The Pennington brothers out wide, 9 catches and 135 yards if you combine the both of them. I just think that's a heck of a win for Russell, and I know it's an out-of-state opponent, and I'm not sure how the playoff points work there, but that's a big win. That'll pay dividends for them moving forward.
Yeah, and we know Colegrove's been good, so, I mean, that's a quality win. In fact, as fate would have it, Jaden Frazier's our Wendy's Student Athlete of the Week this week. He also has a 3.8 GPA, throws for 2 touchdowns, also had a 2-point conversion pass for the conversion, so he had himself a night. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. Well, let's keep it over there in Kentucky. We had Andrew Colegrove at the Belfry-East Carter game. And, look, Belfry did what we've known Belfry to do, and that's score a million points, right? 55-28. They actually jumped out to a 21-0 lead. And, look, East Carter still did some things well. One of the best individual performances that we saw on Friday was their running back that we told you about, Landon Yoke. 231 on the ground off 20 carries and 2 touchdowns. If you would have told me that's what he was getting before the game started, I would have said the Raiders might upset this group.
Man, that's an incredible stat line. I mean, to do that against Belfry, and even though Matt Varney's new, obviously, Coach Haywood and that dynasty's been going forever, but think of the pressure on Coach Varney to win that game. Not just because it's his first game as head coach, but we all know about the legacy that Haywood left, and to go in there and realize, man, if you lose that game, all the Belfry fans are just going to go, you'll be able to hear the air come out of the stands. But that's a good win for them, but positivity certainly for East Carter with Yoke's performance too. That they're going to see a lot of teams that aren't as good as Belfry this year that they're going to tangle with.
Yeah, I know with Belfry being so far away, we don't often get to see them ourselves. We'll get our highlights from our sister station down there, but I was glad to see some of those guys in our camera lens. J.B. Woolham, 127 yards of total offense. He returned a kickoff, 80 yards to the house, had an interception. Ace Cottle, 121 yards of total offense. So quarterback Chase Varney, who is a veteran as much as anyone, 5 of 8 for 201 yards and 2 touchdowns. If you're throwing for 200 yards, completing 5 passes, that means they're all going for first downs.
Yeah, that means they're playing the run, and you see the big hitters, and you take advantage of them. Those are the most dangerous passers when you don't have to heave it every down and you're throwing for 200 yards.
No kidding. All right, let's come back up to Ohio. Boyd County traveled across the river and up Route 7 to Gallia Academy. This was a game where I didn't know what to make of either of these teams. It was a rough year for Gallia Academy last year, but you have this renewed energy and their new coach, Dalton Jarrell. And then with Boyd County, who I thought was pretty good last year, still replacing some talent.
Yeah.
They don't have Rhett Holbrook this year. You know what I mean? And that was a kid that lit it up last year. So Boyd County goes into Memorial Field, comeback victory, 31-17. Not to take anything away from the Lions, but this game was closer than that score would lead you to believe.
Well, it was. And as you know, Gallia took the lead in the third quarter. So for Boyd County to kind of maintain their composure on the road, that's one of the great stadiums around, Memorial Stadium.
Oh, yeah.
what a setting that is. And for Coach Ferguson's guys to go up there and get that done on the road, anytime, like you said, especially when you're playing an interstate game and you're going out of state and it's not a team you play all the time, to go in their house and win, that's a feather in your hat, man. That's something you ride into game two, because that's a big win. Even the fact that they had to come back and win that and didn't just walk in and waltz and put them away, yeah, I think it bodes well for both teams, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and I believe the Lions come back across to Ohio again this week, and we'll talk a little bit about it. I believe they go up to Rock Hill. So can they go 2-0 against Ohio opponents, or will they split them? Yeah. I don't know. We'll certainly talk about it. I wanted to mention, though, the stat line of Boyd County's Caleb Kelly. I was listening to this game on the radio, and I can't remember who the guys were, so if you're listening to this, please tell me. But they kept saying, "In Caleb Kelly we trust." That makes a lot of sense. He had 7 catches for 100 yards, 3 interceptions, and he returned a punt to the house. Incredible stuff from Caleb Kelly.
Those are midseason numbers for most of a lot of players. That is incredible stat line. And well, you know, he's getting pats on the back down the hallway at school this week. Look, 7 catches, 100 yards.
You wouldn't be able to tell me anything if I had just like one of those stat lines. If I returned a punt for a touchdown, I'm cool. But 3 interceptions.
Or you have 1 interception without anything else, or you have 3 catches. What a night for him. Wow.
Let's go back across to, well, we're already in Ohio, actually. We're just talking about a game at Gallia Academy. But this was the Thursday night game that Jimmy saw. And I don't want to make too much of it, because it was a tough night for Portsmouth. I don't know a whole lot about Unioto football. I know they are a bigger school than
Division
what Portsmouth
4.
is.
Yeah.
And Trojans just couldn't get anything going, it seemed like. So maybe they'll get things figured out. They've got Portsmouth West this coming Friday.
Big rival game.
Smaller school. They're familiar with that group, so maybe the Trojans will get some things figured out, but Thursday was certainly not their night, Keith.
Yeah, they lost some people from offense a year ago too, and that's gonna weigh heavy on you, especially when you're playing a bigger school. So probably get a better indication of how good they are on Friday against Portsmouth West.
And what did the Senators do? Well, that was a game I was at. Held on to beat Fairland 30-27. They actually led this thing 23-6 at halftime, I believe. But you can't keep Coach Jackson's boys down for long. They battled back into this thing for some fumbles. The opening kickoff of the second half put them in business, and bang, they score just like that, force a fumble, go down and score again. All of a sudden, it's 23-20, and we're not even through the third quarter yet. You
noted, too, that Fairland's quarterback's a sophomore, Owen Burcham, and you basically noted you like his style. It's not often you see a sophomore starting at a high school, and he went up there and he just about pulled that thing out, didn't he?
Yeah, I just like his tenacity and the way he plays, because he's an undersized guy. I certainly understand what that's all about. And so to see him run hard and, lean into contact and make plays and kind of will his team back into this thing, give him a chance, I just really liked him. Of course, he's young. He's probably green. I only got to see him for a half.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and say we're the experts on Owen Burcham, but I liked what I saw in the third and fourth quarters from him.
And you saw the numbers that you noted for Portsmouth West, too. Their quarterback, Brody Hall, 211 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and their tailback, Anthony Bishop, had a night, too. So those are guys who are going to be there all year long for him.
Yeah, and I'll tell you that I think one of the biggest plays of the game in the fourth quarter, and this is when it's 23-20. So Fairland's got all the momentum, and they almost have West on the ropes. Inside the red zone, I can't remember the yard marker that they were at, but it's fourth down. And West, you're either scoring or you're giving the ball back to them, right? And Brody Hall hit Braden Atkins in the middle of the end zone. It was a heck of a snag. Now all of a sudden it's a 10-point game, and it's kind of like a sigh of relief from the West Siders over there. But if you don't convert and execute on that down right there, you might be talking about a 27-23 Fairland victory.
Might be looking at flipping those records right now, wouldn't we? Yeah.
Margins are slim in these games.
Yes,
that's for
indeed.
sure. Final game that we'll recap from last week, at least as far as the ones that we have highlights to show you in that much. Rock Hill beats Memphis 34-13. That was another game that I was at. First play of the ball game, Keith. Handoff to Brady Merle. Bang, he was gone.
He ran right by you, as I remember.
He sure did. That's when you kind of start backing up because you're not sure if there's a safety that's going to come meet him right in front of you. But he was able to beat that dude to the edge and score on the first play of the game. I will say, I know it was a tough year for Menford last year, and I know that they would have liked to win this game. They look to be much improved to me. I like their quarterback, Kurt Glenn. He's a good athlete. They made some plays. And, look, this was a one-score game at halftime. It was anyone's ball game. So I don't know what happened in the second half because that's when I headed to Portsmouth West and Fairland. But I think Menford might win a couple ball games this year. And look, you'll take that after the year they had last season.
Yeah, and like you say, I mean, that's just one game. And so you don't want to jump to conclusions. But Rock Hill – in the OVC, they may make some noise. Yeah. I mean, you may see that.
Could contend. I think it's really, anyone's conference, at least at the top end. I'm not selling stock on Cold Grove, but that Rock Hill Cold Grove game in October is going to be a big one, and it could very well decide the conference, but we're not writing anybody off just yet. A couple of additional notes, Keith, and the first one I have here, I'm excited to talk about this because we don't talk about kickers very often. We need a round of applause for Wheelersburg's Cooper Heimbach. He hit a 51-yard field goal. They were playing at Columbus Kip, by the way. Big victory for them. Hit a 51-yard field goal. That in and of itself was the school record. Then he follows it up later in the game, breaks his own record. He tacks 2 more yards onto it. 51 and 53 yards in the same ball game. Cooper Heimbach's a weapon, isn't he?
Somebody's got to be looking at him at the next level, right? You don't see high school kids typically kicking 50-yard field goals, much less 2 of them in one game. That's incredible. I want to see him in person because you can hear it come off his foot if he can kick 51-yard field goals, 53 yards. He's got some talent.
Yeah, no kidding. And I can remember back in January, Wheelersburg football tweeted a video, and there's snow all on the ground at Ed Miller Stadium, and he's just like shoveled this little circle enough for him to knock a couple through. Makes sense, right? The kid's out there working.
Same thing as kids out there shooting hoops in the snow, right?
Yep.
If you're working in the snow, you got dedication to your craft, and it looks like it paid off for him on Friday.
Got to. All right, another note, and I just like this one because it was a rivalry win for them, and it really doesn't happen very often for the Vikings. But Sims Valley brings the paddle back to Willowwood there. They beat Chesapeake 35-0 in the battle for the paddle. Again, that's a rivalry that's been dominated by Chesapeake. They're a bigger school, but all those kids know each other, and they're connected there by Sims Creek. And so that's a big win for the folks out there at Sims Valley.
Yeah, Vikings, they're riding high this week, so that'll be fun to see how they do the rest of the season. But that first one to get, especially over your rival, that's always a big night.
And then this was a Saturday game. We didn't get to it because it was so daggone far away, but Ironton continuing what they typically do. They beat Shelby Valley 63-0. Was listening to that on the radio. We're coming back from dinner, and from the time we got in the car from the restaurant in Scioto County and got back to the apartment, it's 21-0.
Yeah, and that's part of what we'll see, these days in scheduling with Coach Pendleton and a lot of schools now that have to schedule farther games away. I mean, you don't really want to go to a Shelby Valley to play on the road, your opener, but that's what Ironton's got to do. So, and they don't back down from anybody, of course, and they're good enough to go anywhere and win. But those are some of those interesting games that we see nowadays that maybe wouldn't have seen in the past.
Coach Pendleton might be boycotting football Friday night. They've got like 4 games on a Saturday. I don't know what that's all about for
Hopefully
you.
He's watching. If he's not playing, Coach,
we'll make
watch
sure
the
we
show.
get there. Come on,
we'll call him up.
All right, let's move on to this week, and this is where it really gets exciting because West Virginia joins the party. You want to tell us a little bit about some of these games we have on Thursday night because that Spring Valley GW game's mighty interesting.
Man, that's always seemingly. I can't remember the last time GW didn't play on a Thursday. They always kind of open the season for us, and always, Coach Edwards Jr.'s got a great team and a great program up there. And for them to tangle with Spring Valley, man, the opener, Coach Dingus heads up there. That's a huge game. It's huge anyway because it starts the season. But for those two, man, whoever wins that got a little 10-yard head start in this season, that's for sure. That should be a slobber knocker, as they say.
And if Google and my memory serves me correctly, T-Wolves beat them by 10 last year.
28-18, yeah. And Spring Valley's on the they're in the AAA division now, and they're good enough to beat anybody in West Virginia at the 4A level. So that should be a great matchup in Charleston.
How about this one in Mingo County? Mingo Central and Tug Valley. The Panthers, I would argue, coming off maybe one of the best seasons in school history. They looked like the team to beat in single A up until the semifinal. I think they got beat by, was it Cameron?
Yeah, they were rolling. They were rolling.
Can they keep that momentum rolling? That was a competitive ball game between them and the Miners. 14-6, the Panthers won. Everybody in Mingo County is going to be talking about this one.
Oh, yeah, that Naugatuck, that road will be crowded to and fro for this one. But, two kind of rivals. They're both, they're right there where they love their football in coal country. And I expect that one to be a battle, and it should be packed. Yeah. No doubt about it.
Let's move on to Friday night because that's where we make the most of our money here. Football Friday night, baby. Capital and Princeton. Princeton's typically pretty good. Yeah. They were awesome last year. Capital, you can't say the same about Capital, but it feels like they're going to be improved this year.
I don't think with John Carpenter back, there's no doubt they'll be better. And that's no knock on Coach Mason and the guys who were at Capital before, but Coach Carpenter has a way about him. He just gets those guys to play. He gets, sometimes you got to work everybody in the school to say who wants to be part of the program. And a lot of kids say, I want to be part of a winning program. And that's what Carpenter does. So I don't know how this one's going to go, but I can pretty much guarantee that Capital will be much improved with Coach Carpenter there. And that should be a great matchup.
Yeah, and Coach Carpenter knows these things don't happen overnight. So you don't put too much stock in week one.
No.
But you can win at Capital. You certainly can.
They got athletes up and down the hallways.
No doubt. And so we'll see what they're able to do this year, not just week one. I'm interested to see what the Cougars do this year. How about Lincoln County and Winfield? It's been tough sailing for Lincoln County. They did win their last game of the regular season last year. Winfield, kind of put it on them last year. But, again, you just never know in these games.
No, you don't. It's tough, but Winfield's been so good lately. It's going to be really hard for Lincoln County to jump in there and try to steal one. But like you say, it's the first night. Go in there and see what happens, right? I mean, that's what college teams do. That's what NFL teams do. So let's see if the Panthers can go in there and try to shock the world. But Winfield will be ready. They're good, obviously.
Everyone's just trying to figure it out week one.
Yeah.
And so will Wayne. And they got Tulsa. So we got a little Wayne County matchup. Our buddy Ryan Epling downstairs will be on the mic. He's probably drinking some tea this week and getting his tonsils and vocal cords nice and ready to go. Wayne was 6-5 last year, lost to Scott in the playoffs. They did beat Tulsa 21-7, and Wayne has won 4 in a row in this series. Tulsa, a playoff team as well. They got beat by Tug Valley. Of course, that's always a big game, Tulsa and Tug Valley. But what do you think about Wayne versus Tulsa to open up 2025?
I think it'll be an intriguing game. Each team has some momentum from last year. Wayne 6-5. That's not what they're used to. Coach Harmon, though, I mean, it's just like clockwork. He gets them ready for the playoffs seemingly every year. Wayne's won 4 in a row, but Tulsa. They went to the playoffs, lost to Tug, as you said, so they're used to winning too down in Tulsa. So I think that's – and not just to mention the geography of the story. That makes it so much fun to go and watch who wants to win this one worse. Both of them want to win badly for sure.
Especially if you've got a streak on either end of it. If you've lost 4 in a row, let's end it. If you've won 4 in a row, you don't want to be the class that lets that end.
Right.
A lot to play for on both sides there, not just Wayne County bragging rights. Back in Ohio – Chesapeake and Minford, we talked about both these teams just a moment ago. Somebody's getting their first win of the season, and it's hard telling who that will be. I know Chesapeake probably doesn't feel very good about being shut out against their rival Sims Valley, so they get Minford at home. We'll see what that looks like over there.
And, that's what both coaches will say. Hey, let's go get that first win, put this thing back to 500, and get this season going. That's a huge game. Sometimes when you come in both 0-1, you're even hungrier, obviously, to get that win. And so that's going to be a great contest between two teams that want to get off the schneid and put their seasons in good directions very early into the season. But that should be a fun contest too.
Keeping it in Ohio, and we talked about these two teams earlier as well. Portsmouth West versus Portsmouth. Is this the matchup that we kind of dubbed the Al Oliver Bowl a couple years ago?
We did, just for fun, and we might as well, with Al going to the Hall of Fame, we might as well just keep it that way now, right? Al was at the game, remember?
He was. Yeah. Wasn't he out there for the coin toss?
Yeah,
we had a little bobblehead.
Got a little bobblehead.
We need to check in with Coach Cobb and Coach G there and see where that bobblehead is. Will it be there?
Will it be displayed in the trophy cases?
I think you guys have me headed to this game, so I'm going to look for it on the sideline.
You do some investigative reporting on that. I mean, that's what you do.
I know. There are some pretty classic, rivalry trophies in this area. But I do like that one. A little tiny Al Oliver bobblehead. It's pretty good.
Portsmouth. Let's go a step further.
Sure.
Portsmouth already has Al on the wall. They should make a statue to Al. I mean, like a honest, bona fide statue. Right?
Absolutely, right in front of the baseball field.
I don't have any way to pay for it or anything, but I'll just throw that out there and just say, hey, I mean, what a son
You're
of Portsmouth.
just trying to get some momentum going for it, right?
What a son. I mean, you think I saw Bill Mazeroski's statue at the PNC Park, of course, and Honus Wagner, obviously, for their Hall of Fame careers. But I don't know, man. All the stuff that Al's done, throw it out there.
You could go him and Larry Heisel.
Larry Heisel, yeah. Branch Rickey.
Rickey. There's plenty to talk as far as sports are concerned
at
Portsmouth.
Yeah, no doubt.
But just a little deeper on that matchup, Portsmouth did put it on West last year, 41-7. Can you imagine Portsmouth West starting their season 2-0, beating two teams that have eluded them recently in Fairland and Portsmouth?
I don't think that game will be 41-7 on either side, but I just think it'll be closer. But if West can go to 2-0, they'll be celebrating.
They'll be ecstatic. We will keep it in Ohio still. Wheelersburg versus McNicholas. These are two teams that have gotten pretty familiar with each other these last few years. They've played every year since 2022, so I believe that makes it 3 matchups if you're talking 22, 23, 24. The Pirates have won 2 of those 3 matchups, but last year is the one that they dropped, and McNicholas did beat them 34-3. I'm not sure what McNicholas has going on this year. I do think that Wheelersburg is going to be pretty good. We just talked about their weapon on special teams. How do you feel about the Pirates getting McNicholas back at Ed Miller Stadium this time around?
You don't think that they don't have that score posted in the locker room somewhere from last year? I'm pretty sure it'll be up there prominently, 34-3. Coming off that emotional win with the big kicks and I think they've got a point to prove. I'm not sure what McNicholas has either. But I wouldn't bet against the Pirates in that one.
I sure wouldn't either. All right.
Plus, those two have the longest 2 names on our score bug to
they
try
do.
to get in.
If you want to put Archbishop McNicholas in there, or just straight up McNick.
Yeah, we could just abbreviate it. McNick.
We can just call it McNick. That's what I hear people call him sometimes.
Saint McNick. Okay.
All right. Rock Hill and Boyd County. We saw both these teams last week. They were in the highlights, so we kind of know a little bit about them. But I'll be honest with you, if I was a betting man, I'd have no idea who to take in this thing. All I know is that Rock Hill gets them at home, and it's the first time these two have seen each other since 1975.
50 years.
Keith, Rock Hill won that game 16-8. I don't think that has anything to do with this matchup, does it?
I don't think you'd be hard-pressed to find someone who remembers it. But that was 50 years ago. But that's cool they're playing again, though. Maybe, again, this is part of that scheduling matrix that we see nowadays where you got to kind of play some teams. And I love when teams go out of state locally and play each other. Yeah. I mean, way back when I was in high school, Ironton and Huntington would play and schools like that. I mean, and you see some of that now. But, to get these two to get together, why not?
And I bet you somebody's grandpa who's going to be in the stands probably played in that game.
Played in that game,
Could you imagine? We'll have to find
Let's see if we can find, dig him out of there.
Let us know. Did you play in the 1975 Rock Hill Boyd County game?
Now you're going to get about 12 people to show up.
Hey, that was me. And now all of a sudden, there's going to be 10 different guys that scored a touchdown in that game.
That's right, in front of 15,000 people, right?
There's a film reel probably up in Pedro somewhere that no one knows where it's at, but that's where the film's at.
That's right.
Of that game. Coal Grove and Adena. Adena coming down from the Chillicothe area, I believe, of course. Coal Grove didn't get off on the foot that they thought that they probably should have. Adena did get beat by McLean last week, 20-0. As far as I could find, this looks like the first ever meeting between these two schools, and they're both looking for their first victory of the year.
Yeah, and the Grove's not going to be happy with what happened last week. You know that. And they're going to want to quickly forget about that. So I don't know much about Adena either, but I know the Hornets will be they'll be fired up and mad as Hornets, if you'll pardon the pun. They want to get to 1-1 on the season.
All right, Greenup County and Russell. This is this game, and then we've got one more to tell you about as well. Greenup County coming off a big 37-7 win over Pike Central. It sounds like quarterback Jasper Davis over there had a pretty big game. I know he's an athletic kid, played some wide receiver for them last year because, of course, Tyson Sammons has been running the show there for a few years. So if Jasper Davis is able to get himself into a rhythm and feel comfortable, especially after a 30-point victory on the road, who knows what the Musketeers could do this year. But we also talked about the big win of Russell, beating Colgrove. I'm glad we're covering this game because it's an intriguing one.
I think with what happened last week makes it even more intriguing. And, man, if Russell could take down Greenup County, they'd be in really good shape. And Musketeers, they're looking pretty powerful too. That could be a 35-34 kind of game, maybe looking at.
Very well could be. It looks like Greenup's won the last 3 in this series. I'd imagine that doesn't sit well with the seniors at Russell, which means they've never beat Greenup.
Yep.
And so you would think they would like to end their careers with a win over those boys. We'll see. We'll be there for it. Finally, Belfry and Louisville Central. This is also our Fired Up Friday location. And they don't play this game till like 8:35. The coaches down
that's
at
the one
Belfry.
that ends like about 11:30 at night.
So we may only have first half highlights on Football Friday night.
First quarter maybe.
But I know the coaches down there say, hey, this is a good day for Fired Up Friday just because there's more time between the game and school. They can actually go home and sleep.
Yeah, they can rest a little bit. Central, they've been a team that we've seen in the playoffs for many, many years.
Very familiar with them.
Always seem to be. Now, they're 0-1. They lost to DuPont Manual. No shame in that in Louisville, but Central's always a playoff team, and so that should be a heck of a game.
Yeah, but all those coaches there, Varney and Chapman, were telling me, hey, we haven't played them in a few years, but we're certainly familiar with that community and those guys, and so it's cool to see them coming to Pike County, playing the Pike County Bowl, which is an exciting weekend anyways, and play the Pirates there at Haywood Stadium. Yeah,
you come down in the mountains and play, and especially at night, it's going to be a little chilly, I would say, because it's a later game. That's always a fun atmosphere. They get to see how the boys in the mountains do it, and Belfry's been doing it for 40-some years, so that should be a really, really good game.
Sure. And Keith, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I guess I am.
You are.
Do we know what our game of the week is yet, or is that yet to be determined? We have a full-fledged Football Friday night comes with all the bells and whistles. And I'm just curious, of all these games, there's so many good ones.
Oh, man.
Which one might be dubbed our game of the week?
We're going to have to do some studying here to see. I'm looking at all the games here.
Take a team vote or something?
Yeah,
wait till Jimmy gets back to work?
We'll have to do it democratically. There are some really good contests, including the Thursday night game, but that we can't make that our game of the night because it's Thursday. GW and Spring Valley. Man, oh man.
We'll let you think about it. Like I said, we don't have to make some announcement on this show.
Well, let's keep the intrigue going.
I'm just curious myself, so stay tuned, I guess, later in the week. Maybe one of us will say, hey, this is our game of the week.
Yeah, we'll give it away before Friday. How about that?
For sure. Okay, home stretch. We've been talking a lot of football here for close to 45 minutes. Let's just go through some of the other matchups that I know so many people are going to be heading out to. We'll start in West Virginia. You've got Logan at Man. Point Pleasant at Fairland. I like that matchup.
Fun game.
Black Knights coming to Proctorville to play the Dragons. We'll see what that's all about. Ravenswoods at St. Mary's. South Charleston at Ripley. The Highlanders making quite the trip to, what's that, Oakland,
Tennessee. From what I heard, they've got 3 guys going to SEC schools on that team.
Are you serious?
I think there's a pretty formidable squad. Yeah, that's what I hear. So.
Well, that'll be a nice little litmus test for the Highlanders because they got athletes too.
That's a heck of a game for starters, right?
Yeah, they're saying, hey, we got a guy going to Clemson,
well,
don't
that's
we?
True.
So
that's true.
they're like, we're good. Greenbrier East is at Riverside. We'll turn the page here to a few more games. Poca at Buffalo, Cabell Midland, and Pikeville. This will be the first game for Cabell Midland's new coach.
Yeah.
How about that matchup?
That's another cool interregional matchup. When the Knights go down to Pikeville, and Pikeville, they know all about state championships, and Midland certainly has been great for a long time. Still, this will be their 3rd coach in 3 years, so we'll see how that new coach gets them going. But he's going to have to start quickly against Pikeville.
That is Coach Fetty, I believe.
Yes.
We also have Scott and Chapmanville Regional, Herbert Hoover and Independence. Herbert Hoover, what'd they go? 10-0 in the regular season last year and came up just short. You would think Joey Fields over there feels like we got to get back.
And that's a heck of a starter for them. Independence, they've been good over the last several years too. So that's a tough one to get started on.
A little neutral site game for the Nitro Wildcats. They get Hedgesville and they're playing it at Alderson Broadus.
They must have pointed at the map and said, let's meet in between. And that's Philippi, so why not, right?
Why not? And Alderson Broadus, it's a shame, doesn't exist anymore. The football stadium's still there, though. We can play ball there.
Yeah, let's go use it, right?
Hurricane at GRC.
Yes.
That's another one.
Going over Lexington way. Yeah.
A few more in West Virginia. You got Nicholas County at Oak Hill, Sissonville at Sherman, Shady Spring at St. Albans, and East Hardy visiting the defending state champs, the Wahama White Falcons.
The White Falcons. They want to do their hair like they normally do in December. Remember,
they go blonde with it?
Blonde and long and blonde, yeah.
All those boys do.
That's what they like.
They'll be replacing Connor Lambert. That was a kid that I really enjoyed seeing on the highlights last year. He was a speedster, man.
He's a ball player.
He really was.
Yep.
Okay, in Ohio, Alexander comes to Sciotaville East. Chillicothe Huntington plays Beaver Eastern. And then how about this old SEOAL rivalry? Gallia Academy and Jackson used to be a big deal. I know it might take a little while for Gallia Academy to get back to that level of competition with Jackson, because Jackson, to me, is loaded.
Yeah, they're jumping in with both feet in that one because Ironman, they're for real, and they got to go to Jackson. That'll be a little wake-up call there, too. What a game for Gallia.
That's just one of those matchups that should happen every year, in my opinion. When both teams are good, that's really fun. Fayetteville Perry is down at Lucasville Valley. A little Gallia County matchup here. South Gallia and River Valley. That'll be fun. Some bragging rights on the line there. Sims Valley travels up to play the Meggs Marauders. And then we've got a few more. Oak Hill gets Fairfield Christian Academy. South Point over at Racine Southern. Wellston gets Piketon after the Rockets beat their Jackson County rival Oak Hill last week. And then Udeoda, after putting it on Portsmouth, they go to Vinton County to play the Vikings. Let's go to Kentucky, Keith.
Whoa, Ashland going over to Tate's Creek, huh? Lexington. So that's a tough road trip for them, especially coming off that loss. But they'll want to right the ship. So that's a trip over to Lexington. I don't know much about Tate's Creek, but I know Ashland will be ready to get one back after that loss.
Coach Tackett doesn't want to sit on that 0 in the win column for very long. Rowan County and East Carter. Fairview and West Carter. Madison Central and Johnson Central. Looks like on that side of the graphic there, it's just all central teams and county teams playing each other. Lawrence County and I'm assuming that's Girard County. And then Morgan County and Lewis County.
Then you go down to Bath County taking on Paintsville. These are Friday night games. Pike Central and Martin County. Raceland, Pleasure Ridge Park going over to Louisville. Take a look at the Derby track and then try to see if they can keep rolling. Raceland, they got that we'll play anybody anywhere kind of mentality. Certainly. And McGoffin County goes to Floyd Central.
Yeah. And then there is one Saturday night game.
Again.
This is an intriguing one because Ironton, of course, coming off their Division V state championship, and what a historic, wild, crazy year that was. This Liberty Christian Academy team from Virginia, I believe, they've won 2 in a row. And they've won like 1 million regular season games in a row, it feels like. So you want to talk about maybe the best of the best and their corners of their respective states. You're going to get that at Tanks Memorial Stadium at 8 p.m. on Saturday night.
Yeah, and they'll light it up for that. The fans will be fired up coming off that big win, 63-0. So Coach Pendleton's gone rolling again. We didn't expect anything less. But again, that's a Saturday night game. So
all the bells and whistles there too. That's their Gridiron Classic, where they bring a bunch of schools in, and they'll have quite a bit of people there. And I believe they're unveiling that state championship.
And they have some new additions to the stadium, video board, and some other things.
Some lighting too.
Keeping that venerable old stadium looking good, but keeping the history together at the same time, which is very cool.
Right. Well, Keith, before I let you go, just wanted to touch base with you again. We talked a couple weeks ago about how, hey, football season's right around the corner. It's so much fun. We were talking about practices and stuff. For you, how does it feel that it's finally here and we actually, have some data points and some things to talk about now? Football Friday night's finally here.
It was funny, Joseph, coming back from Al Oliver's thing at PNC Park, and I thought, man, football season hits you like a Mike Tyson left hook, just bam, wakes you right up, and that's the good part of it. Like and there was a little smattering of college football this weekend, but this week, of course, we get into it deep and heavy. And so you're kicking me off the show again this week on Friday. I'll be down in Georgia as Marshall takes on the top 5 Georgia Bulldogs between the hedges. So that's a quick wake-up call for Tony Gibson in his first game. And they're, going to go into the SEC, and then it's college football from here on out and high school football from here on out. So I'm jacked up.
Well, it's good for people to know because I'm sure that we'll have something from you on Football Friday night previewing that, of course, Marshall, Georgia game.
Yeah.
Hey, man, you've gone to some of these things before where going into it, you're thinking,
Yeah.
probably not going to win, and then all of a
First
sudden,
game, yeah.
here we are doing an hour-long show.
Yeah, I didn't
with
think
you
I'd
guys
be
in South Bend.
I didn't think I'd be at Notre Dame Stadium doing a 45-minute post-game show. But Georgia's Georgia. So, in fact, I just heard Kirby Smart talking about Marshall on his weekly news conference. So, they don't know much about Marshall because so many players are new. So, this is everybody in college football nowadays. So many rosters changes, so many transfers. So, first week, we think it's crazy in high school. It's going to be equally crazy in college too.
I'd rather get the Georgia Bulldogs week 1 as opposed to week 12.
Oh yeah, you don't want them. You don't want them when they're rolling in the SEC. But it's going to be fun. In West Virginia, Rich Rodriguez opens at home against Robert Morris, and don't forget there's a little game at Ohio Stadium.
Oh yeah,
at noon. Ohio State takes on
Trust
Texas.
Me, I haven't forgot.
Yeah, and Kentucky, they don't have that's not a snoozer taking on Toledo. Toledo will give them, and Kentucky's hoping to come back from a subpar season a year ago. And so, they'll be ready. And the Bobcats on a Thursday night in Piscataway going to the Big
Rutgers.
Ten.
That's right.
How about that? So
Bobcats have quite the opening schedule. They've got Power 5 opponents, I think, each of the first 3 weeks.
Yeah, they start with Rutgers, then go with West Virginia week 2, right?
And then Ohio State's
then
in
Ohio
there
State.
somewhere. So
Yikes.
Well, Keith, appreciate you joining us here on WSAZ
Thanks
Sports
for having me,
Plus.
Joseph.
It'll probably be a rotation of you and Jimmy sitting in that seat. Maybe one of these days will be all 3 of us in here.
If you can find us all in the same place at one time.
Yeah, well, Mondays around this time, hopefully somebody's in here.
Yeah, we'll
to
do
talk
it
to
for
me.
sure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right, we certainly appreciate Keith joining us here on WSAZ Sports Plus. Of course, that is a guy that knows what the heck he's talking about. He's been around this sport and these teams and these schools for a very long time. He's familiar with them. They are familiar with him. Always nice to talk ball at really any level, college, pro, high school, with Keith Morehouse. Before I let you go, wanted to, of course, get through a couple of housekeeping items. Fired Up Friday, as we alluded to earlier in the show, it is at Belfry this week. We went to Belfry this exact same weekend last year. Pike County Bowl weekends, always fun. You had Coach Chapman dressing up as Ric Flair and doing what he does. I'm not 100% sure what their plan is for this Fired Up Friday, but I don't have to worry about it because I know that it's going to be electric. Excited to get down to Belfry. There's just some great, incredible people down there, and they've been so welcoming and hospitable for us anytime we're down there. It's quite the trip for us, but certainly worth it when we get down there and you see how excited those kids and that staff and that community is for Fired Up Friday. With that being said, appreciate you for joining us on this episode of WSAZ Sports Plus. Remember, you can subscribe to us on podcast. Go watch full episodes over on the WSAZ app and WSAZ.com. And, of course, follow us on social media. Joseph Payton, WSAZ, J Payton TV, at Keith Morehouse, at WSAZ Sports Plus. Just search all that in whatever search engine you can find. There's a pretty good chance you'll find us. Instagram, TikTok, we're on there. Appreciate you all. We will see you same time, same place, right here in the WSAZ Now studio next Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. We'll be breaking down results and, of course, getting you ready for another week of high school football. For now, this has been WSAZ Sports Plus.